Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at another machine that has just appeared in the game files, and it's in the standard game too. This is a premium French cruiser. I have no idea why it's here. I don't know whether it's designed for the event to try and get people interested in it or what, but it's a rank 4 battle rating 5.7 vehicle. This is the Duplé or the Duplex, depending on how you feel like saying it. And this is part of the Suffren class of good old cruisers. Basically, it's a treaty cruiser from the French, and it was used basically during not just the Spanish Civil War, but also during the Second World War, where it was scuttled at Toulon in 1942. So this vehicle is more, obviously, early war than anything, but does have access to some quite nice things. It has 4 dual-mounted 203mm, so very similar to a lot of the Italian vehicles that you see around. 4 dual-mounted 90mm, 4 dual 37s, and then also 4 13.2s and 2 quad 13.2s too. So you can see the 90mm in these turrets here. And then also, when it comes to the other guns, they're all basically sat on the back of the machine, because for some reason France does this, where they decide to just put the majority of their AA basically in the same part of the machine. So all of the big offering for AA is in the back, whereas you just have a few very tiny turrets around the place, and that's kind of it for the 13. So not sure how effective that's going to be. But also the 90mm should be quite nice with them on each side of the machine. You can see it does have the catapult mounts, so you can fire those off. And also it has some torpedoes. So has some torpedoes on both sides. It's got the same setup as a lot of the general French machines with its torpedoes, where you can't fire both of the sets at the same time because they're mounted on each side, which is kind of annoying for arcade, but c'est la vie. Just means you have to throw them into something without really doing anything with them. Has the bridge, the radio station, and also the fire directors. Once again, pretty standard stuff, so 18 seconds calculation time and 10 seconds update time on them, so nothing too crazy there. And these 203s, they have a first stage fire rate of 6 rounds per minute and a fire rate of 5 rounds per minute, so overall not too bad. Would be nice to be a bit better, but, you know, at 5.7, I suppose you would probably want a little bit more. The first stage ammo is only 20, and that's it. So once you're out of those, you're done, which kind of sucks. And then also you have these massive magazines at the bottom, which is a trademark, I feel like, of these French machines, where you have these huge weak spots on the vehicles, where all you got to do is aim here, and the whole thing just pops. The armor, since this obviously is a cruiser, there is actually quite a lot of it on the machine, surprisingly. And also you have coal bunkers on the machine, so it literally uses coal, surprisingly, to power this massive set of engines in the center. And you actually have 60mm of armor round the ammunition, so finally some armor to kind of defend the ammunition, which is even underneath, and then some armor on the top of it as well. So maybe this one will be a little bit harder to ammo rack compared to other naval machines that we've seen. There's a little bit of armor on the turrets, but not a lot, and then the rest of it, there's a little bit here and there. The major set is obviously in the center of it, and near the ammo racks, which will be quite nice. The coal bunkers give a ton of protection, by the way. So as you can see here, the armor dimensions are 0.800 and 1000 and all of these different things. So penning those can actually be quite hard. They're usually the best armor in the vehicles to kind of go through. So that's quite nice for it. But yeah, the simple fact is that this is just another cruiser that has those 203s, that has a bit of secondaries, which should be okay, but, you know, nothing too special. You can see here, you got the 23 DTs, so those exist, basically the same torpedoes that are on every French vehicle. They're not very good, but they're not very bad either. They're mid, but at this level, at 5.7, you would expect something better. The 203mm have access to HE, with 9.13 kilos of TNT equivalent, and then also they have SAPBC, which has basically the same amount of TNT equivalent, but a lot more pen. This is one of the nicest things about a lot of these French vehicles, the simple fact that their AP hits like a truck, and there's no different for this vehicle either. So if you switch over to AP, usually you lose a lot of kind of like explosive power after the round goes in, but with this vehicle that's not the case. You'll just be able just to hammer through it and have a really good time with it. It also has all the other standard stuff, you know, hydroplane, torpedo mode, ammo wetting, which would be nice. And for the 90mm, you got the standard HE with 905 grams of explosive mass, and then the HETF. So hopefully you can have some high crew skills to make them more worth it. The real question about this vehicle is, where does it fit in the game? Like, and where's it come from? Like, is this going to be an extra summer event thing to try and get people interested in the event? Did this come in because it was supposed to be a prize for the event, but they just forgot about it? Like, it's very confusing. Is it just going to be a GE premium for a special day for the French? It has all of its camos and everything, like, sorted out as well. It's incredibly confusing where this vehicle has come from. Because usually, obviously, you don't just have stuff appear when it comes to War Thunder in this way, especially during non-update season. Maybe this is supposed to be for the next update, but for some reason they kind of just decided to put it in now by accident. But yeah, it's literally in the full game. It's not even on just the test server or the dev server or anything like that. This is just on and in the files. So my guess is this will be like a GE or a pack vehicle. Where I'll make sure to cover it in the future if it is found to be the case that this thing is a pack vehicle. You can see those guns firing at the back. You know, those ones generally are okay, I suppose. Like, I just wish they had a higher fire rate, the good old guns from the French. But yeah, this vehicle should be able to do pretty decent damage to all the things that it faces. Like, 203mm guns are usually in pretty nice spaces for most vehicles. Like, they do a decent chunk, and generally you can kind of hammer destroyers and also be able to hammer cruisers as well. So for me, like stuff like the Trento, for example, I've had a great time in. The good old Italian vehicle, which has very similar setups to this thing. The only difference is I think this one actually has a bit more survivability than it, which is why it's generally higher BR. But I just want to see how they're going to add this thing. Like, is there something they're going to do with it, which is, you know, different from the norm? Are they going to try something which is a little bit odd? It obviously isn't finished yet because it doesn't have its hydroplanes fully modeled, but you can see here the hydroplane that it uses, which is around the place. So yeah, kind of interesting. I wonder what's going on with this vehicle and what's happening with it. It's a beautiful one though, and hopefully at some point it will be available for purchase. Maybe even soon, since it's just been added. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Juan the Panda, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie, B. Young, Bareen, Peter Grayling, Alan Hacker, Sem Alslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R., and also Lafouche for supporting the channel.